Hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining me on the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. My name is Jocelyn, and I'm excited that you are here. Pregnancy was a difficult season for me. It was really hard, and I know that my thoughts didn't help. My thoughts about pregnancy, my thoughts about all the changes that happen with pregnancy. It was hard, and I often felt overwhelmed. Have you ever felt overwhelmed during a pregnancy? Like there was so much to do, things that you wanted to do but you couldn't, and you just felt overwhelmed? Yeah, I felt that overwhelmed too, and today we are going to talk about dealing with overwhelm in pregnancy. So thank you for joining. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Thanks for joining. So last Friday, I did an episode about dealing with overwhelm in motherhood, and I gave you some tips that you can do in motherhood to help combat the overwhelm when you're just feeling like you have so much on your list and you can't get to it. And I mentioned that it is a little bit different in pregnancy, or it can be. If you're having a fairly easy pregnancy, you can actually do the same things. But if your pregnancy is hard and difficult, these tips are for you, because you can't really write a list and tackle your list if you don't even feel like getting off the couch. So this is for those who are struggling in pregnancy with some overwhelm. Let's paint a little picture in your mind before we dive into some of those tips and tricks. You are laying on the couch. You feel miserable. You feel tired. You feel sick. You just don't feel like yourself. Not only is your house messy and you've got almost all the dishes in the house piled up in the sink and on the counters because the sink is overflowing and there is no longer room in the sink for the dirty dishes. And the smell is not helping your situation. And then you notice your toddler on the floor playing with blocks, and there's another smell emanating and coming from the diaper. You roll your eyes and just want to bury yourself in the hole in the couch. If you could make a hole in the couch, you want to crawl in that hole and just ignore everything, run away, and then maybe by chance when you come back that it will all be cleaned and done and that the diaper will be changed and you will be feeling a lot better. Sounds good to kind of escape, doesn't it? This is just a couple of things that are right on the surface that are really bothering you, though. You have even more under the surface that are itching at you and getting at you and really discouraging you in this pregnancy. You feel grateful to be pregnant, but you also feel tired. You feel discouraged, and you almost feel disappointed in yourself. You feel like you're disappointing to your husband because you're not able to stay on top of anything. And it is all just adding in. And your thoughts about how you're not good enough, how you can't do it, how there's no way you could get to it, but you don't understand how others seem to get to it. And you just start swimming in these thoughts, especially since you've seen your cousin on the internet the other day seeming to go through her pregnancy just fine. And you get discouraged. This picture seems really hard and really difficult. And if you've had a hard pregnancy, this picture is all too real. It is real, and it is hard, and it is discouraging. And you don't want to have more kids because of how you feel right now in this moment, in this picture, this brief little picture that I painted in this podcast. It doesn't seem feasible to go through a pregnancy again because it is just too hard. Well, I am here to encourage you to find positivity in pregnancy. I am here to encourage you to do the simple mindset tips and tricks that will help you to get out of this negative rut that you're in. And today we're going to talk about overwhelm. When you are overwhelmed and you're pregnant, it might be hard to sit down at a table and write down everything that is bothering you, to get it out. That might be a little bit too hard. So instead of writing it down, I want you to just start listing it out loud. Listing it out loud isn't quite as effective as writing it down, but it can still ease the burden. It can still take enough off the load that you can find some positivity through getting it out. So if you're laying on the couch, you can't get off the couch, you can't stand the smells, you are just having a difficult time, just start listing it out loud. The dishes in the sink are hard. Having to change my toddler's bum when I am so sensitive to smells is hard. Having the house cluttered and not being able to pick it up is hard. Feeling sick and tired is hard. Feeling worthless and ashamed is harder. Feeling disappointing and disappointed is hard. And just start getting it out, speaking it out loud. There is power in releasing this, but if you just keep it in your mind, if you just keep it all swimming in there, it gets even harder. Because we reap what we sow. If we are sowing thoughts of how difficult our pregnancy is, of how overwhelmed we feel, of how tired we are, of how annoyed we are, of how disappointed we are, if we sow those thoughts, we reap those thoughts, and we find evidences for those thoughts. But you know what is super cool? Is it actually works the other way too. If you start sowing other thoughts that I can do this, I am strong, I give myself grace. My body is growing a baby, and that's incredible. As you change those negative thoughts to the positive ones, that will actually help you deal with the overwhelm. And specifically, speaking it out loud, speaking those negative thoughts out loud is another way to start releasing that negative emotion, the negative emotion of overwhelm. Maybe you have some older kids and you don't really want them to hear you complaining or whining or speaking this list out loud. Even just whispering this list of things in your immediate surrounding area, things in your mind, even just whispering it will still help you rather than keeping it bottled up inside. Because as it gets bottled up inside, it starts to build. That negative emotion builds inside our body, and sooner or later it will explode. And it's not usually pleasant for anyone when it explodes. For a time, it feels good to you because you got it out and it's not in there anymore. But think about the people that explosion might hurt or hinder. So get it out through whispering, through speaking it out loud. If you feel up to trying to move and like getting outside if the weather's good, try and do that outside. Even lay outside in the blanket. For some reason, just switching your surroundings actually can really help, especially if it's with some fresh air. Okay, so that was the first one, is instead of writing it down, speak it out loud. Whisper it if you have to. Go outside if you can change your pace, if you can change your scenery. And the next thing is one that I actually didn't get super good at, but by my 4th pregnancy, I got better at. So you can learn from my mistakes and what I learned and implement this one before I did. And that is to ask for help. For the first 3 pregnancies, I did not enjoy asking for help. I think I was just scared for asking for help. But then when I did have help, when my husband would step in or my mother-in-law would randomly take the kids for the afternoon, it was a refocus. It was amazing. It was incredible when I had that help and I didn't have to feel that whole weight on my shoulders. It was awesome. So think of some trusted people. I had to start with my husband because he was trusted. He's close to me. And I would just ask him for help. Like, this is a season, I would say something like this. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words a little bit, but I would tell him something like this. I am going through this season of growing a baby, and it is hard for me. It is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I'm struggling. I could use a little bit more of your help during the season with the dishes. Would you be willing to step up and help me with the dishes? And when you're talking to your husband and asking him to help you deal with some of these hard things, to deal with the overwhelm, it's better if you be specific than vague. Men are kind of one-track mind, and if you be a little bit more specific, it will help him to know what you actually want him to do rather than him trying to guess and then you getting upset because he didn't guess right. So just specifically tell him, hey, I really could use some help with the dishes. Would there be any way you could step up a little bit during this hard season and do the dishes for me? And voice this to him. And if he doesn't have time or is not able to do the dishes, tell him like, we need to reach out. You can even ask for his help in reaching out. So for me, it was easier to tell my husband I need help and then let him ask like my mother-in-law or other family members or friends to step in than it was for me to ask for help. Which I know that sounds kind of sad now that I speak it out loud, but that was the reality, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Sometimes asking your husband to help you find help can relieve that overwhelm. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I was, and I wish I wouldn't have been that scared. Sometimes we create our own problems, and I did create my own problems in not being more willing to ask for help. My problems were amplified, and I sat in misery longer than I needed to if I would have just stepped out and asked for help. If I would have asked a ministering sister to come sit with me, or to come be with my toddler while I try and do dishes, or let her do dishes. Or to get a little bit of rest in hopes of feeling better after you spend some time resting and getting a little nap in. But having a little bit of help will brighten your day in two ways. First, your dishes or whatever you have help with will be taken off your list. Will be taken off your mental overwhelm list. And second, if you have a friend or a family member come over, you will get to have a few minutes to associate and get your mind off of your misery. Having someone there to talk to visit with, can actually help get your mind off the misery of the hard things that pregnancy can bring. So those are a couple of thoughts that I wanted to offer you today. One of these tips might be a little bit harder than the other. The second tip, which I said to ask for help, might be a little bit more difficult for you to do than the first one, which was to whisper your list or talk your list out loud. Let the overwhelm be released through your voice. Do that. I really encourage you to do that. And after you do that, I want you to check out my Positive Pregnancy Program. This is a video course that I designed specifically with tired, sick moms in mind. And I actually wasn't me, it was God. God encouraged me and enlightened me and prodded me on this journey because I actually just wanted to leave pregnancy behind. But I did learn tips and tricks with my third and fourth baby that helped pregnancy to go better. And God has told me to share this, that I need to share it through a video course. And so I made a video course, which is something I would have craved as a pregnant mom. I even filmed some of the videos while I was pregnant, and I'm constantly writing new material to add to this course. But what it is it is 1 to 2 minute videos where I guide you through pregnancy-specific mindset shifts and exercises to help you to have a more positive pregnancy, to find more positivity in pregnancy. And it's just 1 to 2 minutes at a time, so it doesn't take a ton of time. You don't have to get off the couch. You just watch the videos and encourage your mind to think about what I talk about with you. Think about the exercises. Think about the gratitude. Think about changing the negative to positive and the pregnancy-specific affirmations that can really help you to find deeper peace and sacred beauty in pregnancy. If this calls to you, go to my website, which is Positivity in Pregnancy, and click on the pregnancy page. And there you will find all the information about that positive pregnancy program. I know it can help you to find more positivity in this difficult season of growing a baby, and I know that you can enjoy it more through changing your thoughts. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be, through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.